I'm going to begin a second round of questions and want to make sure I ultimately involve all the panelists in questions. But so, Mr. Yanis, you have prior experience working outside of the FDA with major food corporations. Can you discuss, and I know this top to bottom review is ongoing or is just commencing, but can you discuss what changes you view need to occur to make food safety more of a priority at the agency? And do you think that the agency is too slow to respond to outbreaks of foodborne illnesses?
Well, thank you for those questions. Let me take the first one at the top. Yes, I'm very fortunate to have worked for 30 years in two organizations that are world-class, I would say, large global footprints. And I've learned a lot in those experiences. But I did come to FDA a few years ago to try to make a difference in the public sector serving the American people, who ultimately I think we all agree are our bosses, the American public. And so, but a couple of the best practices that I've learned working for these world-class organizations I think are appropriate at FDA. Let me give you three real quickly. Number one is that food safety is a priority at FDA, but I think we have to go beyond making it a priority and making it part of the culture. It's really has to be an unwavering commitment that we're going to do everything that we can to ensure that Americans have safe food. And the organizations that I work for, the reason they were great, really it was their cultures. And I know sometimes people think that's the soft stuff, but it is the hard stuff. It's got to be part of the organization's DNA. Number two, the organizations that I work for were just, I would say, ruthlessly committed to continuous improvement, modernization, and reinvention. You know, one went from being non-existent to the world's largest company, Fortune 1 in 50 years. How did they do that? Because they constantly reinvented what they do. And at FDA, we're trying to do that under the auspices of something we've launched during my tenure called the New Era of Smarter Food Safety. It's this idea that we're living in modern times and we're going to need more modern approaches to how we regulate food. And so that's a second thing that I think good companies do well, those companies that go from good to great, and at FDA we're committed to continued modernization, and I'd love to tell you more about New Era. But the last thing I would say is those organizations do a really good job of setting very high performance expectations, having high expectation standards of themselves, just like this conversation we're having here. We appreciate that you have high expectations of us. We have high expectations too. They do a brilliant job of clarifying roles and responsibilities so that when you work as a team, there's no duplication of effort and you get more done. And I would say the other thing the private sector does really well is the use of performance measures and metrics. They measure everything, leading indicators and lagging indicators. And I know it's something that Dr. Califf really wants to do is really leverage data and measurements. We're doing all of these things, but clearly there's more that we can do. In terms of the question, and it's a good question, do I think we're too slow in responding to outbreaks? I certainly think there's more we can do. Responding to foodborne outbreaks fast and thoroughly is critical. The faster you respond, the quicker you can pull contaminated products off of the market and protect others from getting ill. And we have to do a better job of understanding the root cause. Why did the outbreak happen in the first place? So you can prevent it from happening again. We've publicly stated we think we can do more and we can go faster, but let me give you just two quick examples of areas where we've improved. When I first arrived at FDA 3 years ago, there was quite a bit of criticism that we were too slow arriving to, let's say, a field, a farm, or a site after an outbreak. I can tell you that now we generally show up quickly in as fast as 24 hours or shortly thereafter. When I arrived, there was criticisms that when these outbreaks happened, the outbreak reports were too slow if they ever came, so that the industry could learn from them. I can tell you we've doubled, nearly tripled the number of outbreak investigation reports that we now publish, so industry knows what happens. And we've issued some as quickly as 6 weeks after the CDC has declared the outbreak over. Now, that's fast. Having stated that, there's more than we can do, and in December, under the auspices of our New Era of Smarter Food Safety, we published a report that we're calling the Foodborne Outbreak Response and Improvement Plan. We contracted with the University of Minnesota School of Public Health. They worked with other federal partners and did a review of our outbreak investigation procedures, and we published a plan on how we further intend to improve how quickly and thoroughly we respond. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. We know that the Office of Regulatory Affairs at FDA has vast responsibility for overseeing inspections and enforcement of FDA regulations. One criticism that we have heard is that FDA is too slow, that the agency is stuck with outdated ways of thinking and is not nimble to keep up with modern trends. So, Mr. Rogers, how do you respond to those sort of criticisms?
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, I think we have demonstrated the ability to be nimble, especially in response to foodborne outbreaks and emergencies. As Deputy Commissioner Yanis mentioned, we have on many occasions in response to an emergency been able to get boots on the ground within 24 hours on the farm and in the facility. I can say that we are an organization that is committed to continuous improvement. We certainly welcome any feedback that would help us better achieve our public health mission, and we certainly will react to the recommendations that are part of the ongoing internal review.
I am going to suspend the second round so we can give Senator Tester his first round of questions.